Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading The Half Moon by Beth Keene. And this was published this year, 2023, and it's about 300 pages long. Fun fact, this is actually my first book of the month book, and it's for the past month of May. So, first impressions, it's actually a very interesting novel. I think it might become a good time capsule of this time period in our lives because it really encapsulates what it means to be a complicated human in your middle of your life, almost a midlife crisis kind of book, but it definitely delves into the complexities of what you're actually tied to in your lives and what makes a family and what makes you feel full as a human, what fulfills you passionately and gives your life meaning. Because once, a person reaches their middle years, their 40s and 50s, you start to understand what is actually meaningful and what you are proud of in your life. So it follows this couple, Jess and Malcolm. They have been separated. Jess essentially left Malcolm, and he's been on his own for 4 months. And the whole book is kind of recounting all the different circumstances in their lives that brought them up to this point. Of course, it's only following really the time periods that they've known each other relationship-wise, so it doesn't go back to childhood or anything like that. I almost feel like at times It's a Wonderful Life vibes. It has that hopeful feel and that, kind of gratitude of what you should be grateful for in your life. But at the same time, I find it very realistic up until the end. I think the end gets a little bit off into the fictional territory, and that does honestly bring down its score in my book. It's still fantastic. I think that there are certain passages that are written in a lovely manner. I don't believe that the writing is particularly beautiful per se. I'm not obviously bookmarking and underlining a lot of passages, but I feel that the intent is there and there is the beauty merely in the subject matter as opposed to the words that are conveying what is occurring in the book. I think that there is something to be said about the amount of couples in modern day that choose not to have children. And this couple doesn't have children, but not of their choice. And, with new technology, you see how a lot of people can now conceive when before, if you were unlucky in those areas, you might have to settle. But this couple, even with those technological advances, still can't conceive, and what kind of strain it's put on their relationship, and what other options are really offered to them at this point in their lives, because they're both in their 40s, and you have to think to yourself, do you want to raise your kids when you're a senior citizen? And also, once you have a child, they aren't merely just your child until they're 18. They're your child for all of your life. But you still have that yearning for legacy, and you have that understanding that a child that you create is a part of yourself, and their happiness is your happiness. And what does it mean to actually complete your family? Because two people can, in fact, be a family, but you have to, in a way, settle for the stagnation on that front in a relationship. Because a lot of times throughout history, you see people push to have meet somebody, settle down, have a family, obviously have a career somewhere in the mix. There even is a point where Jess's mother brings up the point that Jess might not have been able to conceive just due to the fact that she was a working woman. And her mother was a working woman as well, but, putting all that time into law school and all the time studying and not really thinking about having a family until later in her life. Because it might have been better off when you were younger, so to speak. But, you know, a lot of women today are waiting until you're financially stable and you're able to make that choice. There's a lot more, I would say, of a cultural change that this book likes to touch upon. And I really appreciated that. Another thing that is interesting is a lot of the friendships that play out in this book and who's on whose side. I really wish it would have delved a little bit more into that, and also just a little bit more into infidelity and the feelings that lead to infidelity. There is, in fact, the, I would say, these, you know, string of events that lead toward that kind of event, but I think that there was a little bit more to delve deep upon. I think there's this lovely passage that talks about how you can be near somebody and how they can almost shun you away from them. So you're not exactly feeling, there's this typical quote of how you can be surrounded by people and feeling lonely. And while that is, you know, a central theme in this novel, you get to see specific instances that feel real to the reader, that you can specifically relate upon, like trying to pass somebody within a narrow hallway, even though you live with them, and they kind of almost shy away from your touch and try to disregard your presence there. And that is a real feeling that people can feel and they can understand, relate to, and there isn't just a simple quick fix to feelings such as those. And I love how the book touches upon that. I'm gonna say I really enjoyed this read. I think that as of thus far, Book of the Month service pretty good. A book like this actually would be Less by Andrew Greer and While I Was Gone by Sue Miller, which I have recommended previously. But thank you for watching and hope you have a good one.